Hello there and welcome to a new episode of The Power of Surrender with Hugh, where every day we take a card from the deck, The Power of Surrender by Dr Judith Orloff, and we talk about it for your inspiration and food for thought in these challenging times we're living in. Today's card, my friends, is Surrender Frustration. Now, it's such an interesting card because when all of us get emotional and get upset and get wound up and our hearts beat faster and blood rushing, it's very difficult to be reasonable and to try and find solutions when you're feeling upset emotionally. So this is a really good card for reminding us that there are solutions and actions that we can take, whether we're by ourselves or we're involving with other people, that can help us try and get back into a space where we can find resolution and find a way to handle frustration. So let me read to you what it says here in the card. It's very interesting. It says, hang on. Frustration doesn't open any doors. I'm just going to stop on that for a second. Frustration doesn't open any doors. Frustration and anger is going upstream. It's shutting down, closing down. I can't deal with this anymore. Screaming and shouting into your pillow or out loud. So I think that's a really good way of putting it. And so once you kind of recognize, okay, this is not constructive what's happening right now, then you say to yourself, frustration doesn't open any doors, therefore it closes them. The key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach the situation more calmly. So you can approach the situation more calmly, and it is to take a breath, to pause, to center yourself, to try and zoom out and get perspective on the situation. And it's so easy, of course, when we're sitting here now chatting with this card to say those words so calmly, but it's something that I would love for you to try if you've never done it before. If you're feeling really frustrated, you're starting to get angry and it's just winding you up, try to just pause for a second, literally take a deep breath, center yourself, essentially regroup, try and put the emotion to one side and the feeling to one side and say, okay, how are we going to deal with this? And there you're in a position now where you can be reasonable. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, if two people are having an argument, if one person remains calm, unless they're a narcissist, if one person remains calm, it's like, okay, I hear you, and just lets the other person vent and say what the things they need to say, doesn't react, doesn't escalate it, just lets it kind of let the steam get off it, and then wait for the moment when the other person has calmed down, when they're starting to be a little bit more reasonable. That's the moment when you start to talk about this and say, okay, how do we resolve this? Okay, let's talk about a different way to handle this, rather than to be getting upset and emotional, because it takes and wastes so much energy when we go upstream and shut all the doors when we're trying to deal with a problem or an issue. So I'm going to read this to you one more time, because I really think this is such a powerful, very simple but very powerful way of dealing with this. And again, it says, frustration doesn't open any doors. Well, if it's not opening doors, like I said earlier, the only thing it's doing is closing them. So you don't want that. You want a resolution. So the key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach a situation more calmly. And that's the thing about it. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but sometimes with these key points, I think it's good to go over it and repeat it again and perhaps put it in a different way. When you regroup, when you get perspective, when you kind of step back a little bit and go, okay, I caught myself, reacting there, and am I really reacting to what's happening now, or is it because sometimes you can have previous experiences in your life that will have basically, and then something else triggers you, and basically it's like you get the same feeling as you did as something that happened to you 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and all of a sudden are you reacting to what's happening in this moment, or are you reacting to a culmination of different events that all seem to be the same? And we're opening up all kinds of doors of conversation on that one. But the point is to keep it simple. to realize again, frustration, anger,
the path through the dark side they are,
as Yoda would say. But seriously, it's just that you're not getting anywhere. They're not productive. Anger and frustration is not productive. Doesn't get you anywhere. Sometimes it needs to be expressed out. Of course, absolutely, we're all human, but it's not productive. It doesn't move things forward. It doesn't find resolution. So if once you kind of recognize that, and even if you do feel angry and frustrated, the thing to do about it is kind of step back, to take a deep breath and go, okay, let's try this again. Let's try and look at this in a different way. And there you're in a position of going downstream. And sometimes the solution presents itself to you without even having to work too hard for it. Just by simply calming yourself down and centering yourself, sometimes the solution presents itself, because again, you switch from going upstream to going downstream and going with the flow of the universe. How about that? Boom. I hope you got some inspiration, food for thought from this card. I will be back tomorrow with another episode, another card. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Boom.